Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt, and I am super excited about the guest that I have on tap today. Her name is Fitzpatrick, and she is a social media strategist, author, and speaker who's worked with some really well-known brands that we're going to chat about. She's an author who's written The Art of Small Business Social Media, a blueprint for marketing success. And with over a decade of experience, she has helped businesses create impactful digital content, build authentic connections, and stand out in saturated markets, which I think is something that all of my listeners strive to accomplish. So welcome. Thank you so much for chatting. So let's kind of dive in and tell me a little bit more about your experience and how you got into the social media space.
I've been around for a long time. I started out in 2010, and I've worked for a company doing social media the whole time I've been around. So I started out actually working for a company that I still work for. So I have 14 years with one company, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, at this stage.
So you've really seen the evolution of social media.
It's totally true. I have seen so many evolutions of it. So I worked for this company the whole time, but at the beginning it was really part-time. It's a European company, and they were kind of like, oh, maybe you could help us launch this product. So my first thing I did was I started out with a product launch, which was huge because it was starting with like nothing and that went to like a big, huge event in Vegas, and I filled the whole room, which was my goal. I had like over 500 people that came for the product launch. So social media does work if you can work it. So, and then part-time things that I've done, I also worked with Canva as their head of social strategy when they were a tiny, wee little baby company in Australia before everyone in the world knew who they were. They were my secret weapon that I didn't tell people about because I don't know I'm not a Photoshop user. I have Adobe Creative Suite. I have the whole thing, but it's hard. Photoshop is hard. And I know some people are super great at it, and you know what? Good for them. I'm happy for them. But for me, I've taken classes. I've like done a lot. I just haven't really mastered it. Even just like I got where I could make some like social media images and stuff, but it just took me so long. So Canva was like a godsend for me. So when Guy Kawasaki and I started working with Canva, our job was to get people to find out how to use Canva, what Canva was. At the time, there was some other bigger players in the space. Adobe still is a huge player in the space, but I think at this point, Canva's like equal with Adobe because
a
lot of people use them
so much.
Yeah, since the beginning. I mean, the beginning is always crazy at the beginning because it was very small. And so that was like an experience of taking, and before that, I've done a lot of like brand campaigns that I've done. And when I worked with Guy, that he had done. So before I worked for Canva, I don't know, my timeline's probably all messed up. I also worked with Motorola. Guy and I did a phone launch for the Motorola phone when they were part of Google. So for Google/Motorola, we did a phone launch. We traveled all around South America. So we would go to one city, do this huge event, and I did all the social and the marketing and the video and all that kind of stuff. And Guy was speaking, and then we'd go to another country and it was crazy. It was really fun. It was like 1 month we traveled, sometimes back and forth to the United States, and then sometimes we just went to another country. So that was really interesting and fun because it was like every country obviously is a totally different culture. So we were in like Argentina, and then we were in Chile, and then we were in Mexico City. So I'm very, very thankful and lucky. I've traveled really all over the world doing different things that have been paid for by my social media. So
that's amazing.
I feel like I come from a small town. I'm like a small town girl. So I'm like, I can't believe I went to Australia to work with that's a lot. You look at the map, like how far you are away from Australia, or even at the bottom of South America, you are very far away from home down in Chile.
I grew up in a small town also, and
Yeah.
my career has not yet taken me to all those amazing places.
It
I'll get
might.
there someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
It might not, but it might. If you want it to, you could,
Yep.
right?
It's true. I'm gonna manifest that for 2025.
You have to, you want to, speaking of that, I could go pull it out and show you, but for myself, I did do a manifestation board. Like I like to do physical ones still. I write
Hmm.
things out and I do them, but I did a board and it was like, and it had all these things on it. And one of them was go to Paris. One of them was I wanted an Apple computer. Like I just put things on there and I actually did manifest every single thing on my board I got.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
And I think
amazing.
it's because you put it out there and then you work for it. It's like,
Hmm.
it's not that they magically appear. It's that in your head, you're like, you know what? I could probably do that. So
Yeah,
definitely put it on your board for 2025.
100%. So let's kind of start with your experience working for some of those big brands.
Hmm.
What lessons did you learn working with larger brands that smaller businesses can apply to their own marketing?
Hmm. One thing is to make sure that when you're running a campaign for something, even if you're a small business, say it's Black Friday and you're going to run some campaigns, make sure that you can track everything that you're doing so you can do the best you can to figure out what your return on what your ROI is. Because one of the things with a big campaign, like they might not tell you ahead of time, but they want a report showing all the things that you did. So I would make a big, just like for example, working for Audi for the LA car show. That's a pretty big deal.
Hmm.
So they wanted me to do all these things. So I made a Trello board for all of it. And Guy was actually doing interviews with like, oh, I can't even remember who it was. It was probably like the head of Audi in the United States. So they're like really big interviews. So I had to keep everything super organized. So keeping things organized, create as much as you can ahead of time, use like Grammarly to spell check things and to check your grammar because the last thing you want is to post something that starts doing well. And then I mean, most things you can edit now, but say you did something on Instagram and then you boosted it, you can't edit it anymore. So just in the
Yeah.
case that you need to double check things and you need to track things and not
Yeah.
to make it crazy if you're like the only person in your business, you don't want to make it too crazy, but sometimes you can learn lessons from yourself on how you did things. So from doing that one, so one before that didn't ask for things and then afterwards, they were like, can you give us a reporting of all the stuff you did? And I had done, I don't even know, 20 different tweets and, Facebook posts and LinkedIn. Like I had done so much content. And then I had to try to go back and recreate the wheel. And that was not good. I mean, I did it, but it took a long time. So then the next time I did a Trello board. So if you're going to do like a campaign or something special, if you have a sale or an opening for your business or anything like that, do a Trello board, make your plan in there, and then just put things in there as you go. It helps you keep everything organized. It helps you just know where you are. Like you could just pull it up and go, okay, I already did that. I need to do this. And then you could also, if you're a small business owner, look at that and say, I tried to do way too much this time. It was overwhelming and I'm not going to do that again. Because I think for small business owners, time is so tight. You have so
Hmm.
much to do and you're the only person, or maybe you have a small team. So sometimes your eyes are bigger than your stomach and you might plan something too big and then it gets overwhelming. So then once it gets overwhelming, you feel like it's not working. You're like, I can't do this anymore. It's like a little spiral. We all do, right? I mean, if something's not working out, then you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So just try to you can learn from all the big brands and just scale it down. So from that, I would say definitely just create a great plan and stick with it. From Canva, lessons from Canva for small businesses, even when they first started out, knowing who your brand is, like what your voice is and what you want your brand to look and sound like is really, really important. So even when people didn't know who Canva was and weren't interested in maybe a company that was in Australia, you know, when you're online, doing something that can be global, that anyone can use it if it's software or if you're doing a class that anyone in the world could buy, just make sure that you keep your messages. So they can apply to everybody and just know that people all around the world might buy it. You don't have to say we're in Australia and we did. I mean, you could if you wanted to, if your location was important, but it doesn't really matter when your goal is ultimately to grow. You don't have to limit yourself to saying I'm here, I'm whatever, but creating a consistent brand and like really sticking with your brand voice and your graphic style and all of that helps people trust you and get to know you and be familiar with you and grow that brand awareness and ultimately the community that's so important.
Yeah. What are some of the mistakes? And
Mm.
I feel like we probably see this in small businesses. So I work a lot with small businesses, especially in like biting off more than they can chew. But what are some of the most common mistakes that you see small businesses make, especially more specifically on social media? And what can they kind of do to not make those mistakes?
I think, one of the things is they could follow like too many different people or they follow somebody who's really big. Like say they're following like Jenna Kutcher or Amy Porterfield and they're like, this is just one person doing their stuff. They have a team of people. They have a team of people that are helping them create content, post content, come up with ideas. They probably have input and stuff, but they are mostly likely are just like the face in front of things at this point. So if you see them posting a launch and they have a million different things in it, you have to know that they have a team of people. So don't try to compare yourself to like someone who's really big and, has a team of people. But it is possible to do really great things alone. Just to know, you have to really know what things you're good at. And then if you can outsource any of it, if there's things that aren't your favorite thing. But I think one of the biggest mistakes is if people try something and it didn't work out, then they say social media doesn't work, so I'm not going to do it at all. Like, and their idea of trying it was like they posted a couple times, nothing really happened. I mean, especially now, it takes time to build up an audience and to grow and to connect with people. All the algorithms have shut things down more. So even if you have 30,000 people that follow you, 30,000 people are not going to see what you post. Even if,
Hmm.
so, if you're a smaller account, say you have 500 people, 500 people aren't going to see what you post. It takes time to grow things and you have to be patient. And I think that's hard because small businesses really need their marketing to be successful. And I
Hmm.
get like that is true, like that is a fact. So you need to make sure that you don't quit too soon or put too much on your plate. Like don't say I'm going to post every day. I'm going to do all, be realistic with what time you have to create things and don't overwhelm yourself, I think.
Yeah, I see that a lot. I have this discussion with many clients who have smaller accounts, and everyone wants
To go
immediate
viral because
results.
that's the viral, I saw this account and they got 1 million views on TikTok, but they probably didn't get any business from it because it was TikTok.
I say that all the time. I have this conversation with friends. I have this conversation with clients. Like, my reel took off. It got, 5,000 views. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. I think also like understanding which metrics actually show success because there's so many of those vanity metrics, right?
Hmm. And even follower count is really a vanity metric at this point, Instagram has come out and said that, engagement and reach are more important. So
Hmm.
if people share your content is more important.
Yeah.
Not
What?
that it's easy to get people to share things, by the way, but
No, it's definitely not. And it's funny because I work with some industries where they're definitely more probably passive followers. Like think like service providers, like therapists and attorneys.
right,
People don't want to necessarily engage with that and be like, "Oh, hey,
right.
those tips."
It is hard in some industries to, it is. I get it.
Speaking of kind of how you talked about Instagram saying, shares and engagement and reach are more important, what other trends do you see emerging for small businesses that they should be paying attention to that are probably easier for either a smaller team or someone who's managing their own social media to implement?
Hmm. I think, one thing that I see is a lot of small businesses not doing is to grow their email list. Like, do something to grow your email list along with your social because social media can disappear, an email list you'll have forever.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure in your social media that you're doing that you post some things that are helpful, or if you have like a little newsletter, something, offer something that you can offer. If you're a therapist, send tips for whatever kind of therapy you're doing. We'll say it's Reiki, where it's a Reiki therapist, and you could post things for like the new, I don't know, self-care practices
Mm-hmm.
for people. So like, and then you could say, you have a download that where you can, so offer some kind of value and get people's email addresses, and then do a newsletter like once a month, maybe more if you have a lot to say, but connect with your people. It's important to connect with them on social media, but it's just not the only way to do it. And especially if you're selling services or products, you want to sell those to people. And
Mm-hmm.
newsletters, actually, email sells more than social media does.
It does.
Statistics tell us that email, you can make better sales. So kind of, think about the fact that your social media might be more for brand awareness, and then you're going to nurture those people along from just liking your content and talking. I mean, even if you're a lawyer, that seems like a very hard kind of account to run, but I do follow some attorneys who do really great stuff. Mitch Jackson is one who he does tons of stuff on social media. And, he said, and I asked him one time, like, how is it cost effective for you to be online? Because attorneys have a lot of money, like per hour that they make. And he said it helps people get to know him and feel comfortable with him, because they get such a bad rap for not being the friendliest people, or the people that you want to, we know what attorneys, their
Mm-hmm.
reputations are. They're like, it's a different kind of person. So it helps people get to know him and hear what he sounds like. And he's gotten a lot of business that way, because then people felt comfortable. And that actually can be for any industry, any kind of service industry where people are going to pay you and they want to work with you. If they know you ahead of time and they're like, well, Heidi's offering these services and I love her podcast and I follow her on Instagram. She seems really friendly and I think I want to work with her. That's definitely how we think these days. Like, I think it's parasocial relationships where
Yeah.
you feel like you know the people. You
Mm-hmm.
don't really know the people, but you know what their voice sounds like. You're friendly with them online. That doesn't mean that we know everybody that we talk to online, but that really, well, I mean, it seems like that, but
Yeah.
there's different levels of friendship, right?
I think it comes back to the fact that people ultimately, and I say this to clients a lot, like you have to show your face because people do business with people that they know, like, and trust.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I like your point about the lawyer because sometimes I get stuck on strategies for clients. And sometimes, like, social media is just that trust building platform where
A
you know
lot of
that people
times
are
it
going
is
to find
now.
you.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily going to convert people.
but it could.
It could, and it could be the deciding factor between them choosing to work with you and
Hmm.
someone else. But ultimately, they're going to go to your website and it's probably not going to be attributable to Instagram. And they're probably not even going to mention, oh, I've been following you on Instagram for years. And then you're going to be like, social media doesn't work, you know?
Right.
I feel like I hear that all the time.
I know. Well, I think that is a thing that small businesses say a lot, because maybe they really haven't had that much success. I'm saying with air quotes, because they think success is going to be the million views on TikToks. And that's not really what the success is for small businesses. Success is growing your business, connecting with people, growing your email list so you can sell to them more through your email list. So brand awareness is a really big part of it, and getting people, whether you have a brick or mortar or not, if you're trying to entice people to come in, but it is all about, sharing your expertise so people get to know who you are and what you do. And then they do that, the like, know, and trust, or the know, like, and trust, or
Mm-hmm.
whichever order you go with that. It's all the same. Like that is, and it's how people make their decisions now.
Mm-hmm.
They see
Yeah.
things online, or they hear somebody else worked with someone, or they look at reviews.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about your book.
Hmm.
So you wrote with Guy Kawasaki, The
Yes.
Art of Small Business Social Media.
Well, my first book I wrote with Guy, my first book was The Art of Social Media, Power Tips
That's
for
right.
Power
That's right.
Users.
That's right.
It's confusing. And then my second book is The Art of Small Business Social Media. And I wrote that alone, but Guy wrote the foreword for it. So his
Gotcha.
name is there, but He
And
didn't
that one's
write it.
coming out in November, right?
November, yes. Very
Probably
soon.
right, probably right after this will air because this will probably go
Awesome.
live end of October, early November. So tell me about how the book helps entrepreneurs really take control of their online presence.
Okay.
What can they expect to learn from it?
Everything, everything that you need for a small business owner. I took all the things that I've learned over 14 years of working in social media. I'm a blogger. So I've been writing on my blog since 2010, how to use social media. And I've worked behind the scenes with Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram with like the partnership teams. So I've learned a lot and I've taken all of that and I've written it exactly for small business owners. So it's really for small business owners from A to Z. If you've already done some social media, it will help you. If you haven't done any at all, it will definitely help you because it just goes through everything like what social media is, how it's going to help you, how to find your ideal customer, how to find your ideal client. And it's not a cookie cutter approach because there isn't really cookie cutter approaches that can help people. Every business is different. So this teaches you how to figure out what your goals are and how to measure your goals. And then, then you get into like how to create the content, what platforms you should use, and I break all of it down all the way through. And it's not the stuff that you can Google, like, how do I start a Facebook page or what size is the header on a Facebook page? I tried to make it as evergreen as possible. It's
Mhm,
hard because social media changes all the time, but
mhm.
the really nitty gritty, the smaller details that change all the time, it's not so much that, it's the bigger picture of how to like create a marketing plan for your company and make it work.
I'm so excited. I'm like, I need to send this to like every client before they start working with me.
You're like, just read this book and these are the parts because it even explains when you should hire someone. Should you hire someone or should you do everything yourself? Like, because those are questions people have and it's all organic. It's not paid. It's not like how to buy your way to social success because that's a fallacy. You can't even really do that. It's really how to do it yourself. But I do explain how to work with people. And if you were going to work with someone, these are the things that you should look for. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. If you can afford help, then get help. But a lot of people can't have help when they first start. So,
Yeah. So until the book comes out, there's a small business owner out there. What would be the first three simple actionable steps that they can take to improve their overall social media strategy?
okay. So, first off, go to your bio on, we'll say, your Instagram account or your LinkedIn account. Well, we'll say that two separate things. So, Instagram, check your bio and make sure that you have a link to your website. Make sure that link works. Because a lot of times the bio is the first thing that people set up when they're starting and they don't know how to do anything or what they're really doing. So it's really, when you go back and look later, you're like, I had no information in there. Like, does it really say anything about you? So make sure that you have a good bio on your Instagram account or whatever your main account is. And then, click on your link, make sure that works. So make sure that your bio tells people who you are and who you serve and what you do and make sure that that's clear. So, number two, I would say make sure that you have a LinkedIn account. Depending on what your business is, for most businesses, that is going to be really helpful. It's not that you have to post there all the time, but make sure people know you're a small business owner. Small businesses, a lot of times, will connect with people that are local. So, it's very helpful to, again, have a full profile on depending for your LinkedIn page, you should definitely have like a personal page. And then if you have a big enough business that you want to create like a business page for your account, you could. But I think small business owners ignore LinkedIn a lot. And that is a place, especially if you're offering services, that I feel like you can connect with people. Like if you're selling marketing or coaching or things like that. If you're like nail salon, I would say maybe you're not going to sell those services
Hmm.
as much, but as a business owner, you still should have an account there so you can connect with the right people. Working with big brands, by the way, this is what brands do when they want to work with you. They look at your LinkedIn account. So you should have,
Hmm.
that's something that they look at. Like what things are you, what have you done? They look at all your stuff. They look at your website, your about page, all those kinds of things. My website that I built myself, it's a WordPress website, and I always keep it. I'm saying always keep it. I try to keep it updated all the time because no matter what happens when you go back, you have to change and update stuff. But TJ Maxx loved my website and they hired me to come and speak at a conference in New York City to teach social media as part of a workshop that was Layla Ali and Barbara Corcoran were the other speakers. It was a very big event. And they found me and they looked at my LinkedIn and my website. So just know that people are looking at things and what you put out there, it, will attract the right people as long as you're explaining things the right way. So Instagram bio, LinkedIn presence, just make sure you have a good photo there and make sure you have, current, make sure everything's current. LinkedIn, you don't have to post that much, but let's see, third actionable tip. If you haven't started building your email list, look at email providers that you can use. I like to use Flowdesk. It's very affordable. They don't charge you more as your list grows. A lot of places you sign up and then the more subscribers you get, it keeps going up until it's like hundreds of dollars a month. And Flowdesk is very affordable and it stays the same price. So even if if you're starting out now and then it grows larger, it doesn't get unaffordable. So if you haven't started an email list, you should think about that now and get an email sign up on your website. So if people are coming there, they can sign up for more information because email is like the direct communication.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that. Do you talk about email list on
I
your podcast
I
a lot?
do. 'Cause, you hit the nail on the head, and it's something that I talk about a lot is that social media is rented space and
Mhm.
you own your email list, so you control who sees you and when they see you.
Right.
And, even if you have an Instagram following of 500, maybe 50 of those people are probably going to see your post because what, it's like 10-20% reach at
If
most
you're lucky, right?
if you're lucky. And, if you have 500 people on your email list and you get 20%, that's 100 people.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you write good emails, people are going to open them.
Most of my clients, I think, get like between a 35 to 50% open rate, which is pretty
That's
amazing.
amazing. Yeah, that is amazing. That's so much just when you compare that with social media. And I think when you talk about social media a lot, people don't think, well, email's part of that. But when you're looking at small businesses, like you have to look at all those kind of assets
hmm
together. And social media is a way that you grow your email list.
And for a small business, do you mention in the book any strategies to really start? You talked kind of about lead magnets, which we talked about before, but are there other strategies? If they're like, well, I don't have a lead magnet, like what are other strategies that,
To grow your
service-based
email list.
businesses might have to grow their email list?
Yeah. So if you're a brick and mortar and you have a space where people come in, have something on your counter to sign, you have to ask people for their email. So
hmm
just have something there. You can even do the like jar, have people put their cards in and just be like enter a drawing for a discount. The traditional things still work for small businesses. I think there's a lot of traditional marketing things that are like in-person things. Other email, if you're doing stuff on social media, you can even, do a post every once in a while and just say like, "Hey, are you signed up for our email list?" You have to ask. It's like almost like asking for a sale. You have to ask. Otherwise people don't know you have it. You could do Instagram stories. Not all, I'm saying like depending on how often you're doing stories, but you could have a story every other week and just do a different graphic for it. Create like 3 different graphics, rotate them, and then just for like email sign up, like because people like coupons and discount. That's
hmm
people love that. And nobody complains when they get a 20% off coupon for something that they want to buy. Right. So that people are still looking for bargains and discounts and that kind of thing. So, you can offer an incentive for signing up for the email.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, providing value is the best way in some way on your account. Like if, say, hey, if you're enjoying our content here, sign up for our newsletter. We only send things out once a month, but they're very valuable and it's insider information that we don't post on our social media. So make it like a little bit exclusive on a list that they get something that everybody's not getting.
hmm
And even though it's a free sign up, it's still an exclusive, like we post our, specials or whatever, like just some kind of special content that other people don't get.
I love that. Your book talks a lot about creating purposeful content.
Hmm.
Can you explain what that means and how small businesses can implement it?
Right. So you want to make sure that you're creating content that has a purpose, like literally has a purpose, not just saying, here's my content calendar for the week. I'm going to post 5 times. And then 5 times you're posting things. But what was the actual purpose of that? Like each one should have a purpose. Is this to entertain people? Is this helpful? Are you answering a frequently asked question? So create purpose in what you're doing, not just creating content for the sake of creating it, not just doing reels that don't really, are the things that you're creating reaching your target audience, like what their pain points are, what their needs are, what they're looking for? Or are you just posting things to post things? Because I mean, you must see it all the time too. I mean, you go and you
Hmm.
see people just posting a lot of things. And if you're following influencers who are, say they're like home decor people or beauty bloggers or things. Beauty bloggers, they're always sharing their products. So they're sharing how to use them and the products. But like home decor people, they're just sharing things that they bought. So their posts don't necessarily have like a goal like a service provider would. So if you're a lawyer and you're posting things that don't provide any value, it doesn't serve any purpose to your marketing goals. So
Yeah.
just think about like what is the purpose of your post when you're creating it, because it's easy to think, well, I haven't posted, I should probably just create some light content. Not that there's anything wrong with that either, by the way. Sometimes educational content is one thing, but then sometimes it's just a fun thing. Sometimes it's just a Friday post or something like that. So there's kind of a purpose for all different posts, because the lighter posts balance out the sales posts or the helpful posts or things like that. Most
Hmm.
content I say really should just be helpful. Do you know Jay Bear, the author Jay Bear?
Yes.
So he says, make your content so helpful that your customers would pay for it. I always think about that because it's
Yeah.
true. Like, if you're providing really helpful content, that you're solving a problem for people and
Yep.
you're helping them learn something that they didn't know, whether it's like, I can't remember her name. There's this lady, all she does is cleaning. She just cleans her house and she loves cleaning. She's a British lady and she just shows like, this is how I clean whatever. And it's really interesting content because we all clean our houses. And did you ever think
Hmm.
somebody else might do it differently or they might use a tool differently? Like it's interesting. Like we're kind of interested in like seeing how other people do things, right?
Hmm.
Anything like this is how I use a Trello board. And it's like, I love seeing people's like behind the scenes things of how they use something.
Same. Same. I'm always like, I need that. I need that template. I need, like, how are you doing that? The
Yeah,
number of courses and guides and templates I've bought since I started freelancing in 2020 is stupid.
I do a lot too. And then I started using Notion. And then there was like all these people that had like great Notion templates.
Yep.
And I like Notion, but I still ultimately I like Trello better.
I like Notion, but I also find it incredibly overwhelming because you
Yeah.
have to build everything.
Yeah. I did. I built a lot of stuff, but to be honest, I don't even know the last time I went there now. And I did buy templates for that. So that I mean, you have to like listen to your own advice. Like, don't just. But I do that too, though. I'm always like, I gotta learn. There's some people where when they put stuff out, I'm like, look, I gotta learn that too. Because you do even though I've been doing this a long time and you've been doing it for years too. There's always like new stuff coming out. And sometimes you just have to say, no, I don't need that. But sometimes you do learn new things. I just signed up for, it was like a 2-day summit with ManyChat because they had really great speakers. I wanted to hear Hank Green speak
I
because he's
signed
one
up
of,
for that summit and I haven't gone to a single.
you have to watch Hank Green's. His is really, really good.
Yeah, I realized that I had a lunch thing yesterday. I had a breakfast thing this morning, so I like haven't watched any of it.
But I think you have a year. So you
Yeah.
can put it on your calendar because otherwise you'll forget about it. I do the same thing. I'm like, I leave it in my tab forever. I'm like, don't forget to go back up there and watch. But
Hmm.
I watched a couple of them, and Hank Green's was really good
I'll have to go
because
check
his is
that
all
out.
about the creator economy, and he's been a creator for a really long time. So
The creator economy fascinates me. And you've had a long career in social media. So you've definitely seen the evolution of like Facebook back when it was just people, like businesses weren't even on there. And it really
Yep.
was like for connecting with friends and family. And I
Yep.
feel like ultimately like Facebook and Instagram are kind of starting to they want to get back to that, but they also know that they want to keep people on the platform for longer and they need
Yep.
the advertising dollars.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah,
So
we definitely have gone through a lot of evolutions of that.
it's fascinating to me. And I think that Meta ultimately doesn't know who their target audience is, which is, the ad managers who are spending money.
It's true.
And instead, they're thinking of the user, the actual app user, all of us who scroll endlessly.
I bet they don't even know who their Facebook audience is anymore. Who knows who it is? I think it's a little bit older people at this point.
I
It's
think so, yeah.
definitely like I would say above millennials because I
I'm
don't
an
think
elder
millennial.
millennial. Like
Are you on
I
Facebook
I
for business?
am.
But what about personal?
So I
A
use
little?
Facebook for business with groups where I can connect with other business owners.
Yeah.
And people follow my business page and I
Mhm.
share it to my personal profile because,
Yep.
even though I know that like my mom and my family and my sister, they are not my ideal audience, it's gonna get me that extra reach.
Right. But if you weren't doing it for that, do you think how much would you use Facebook?
I'm not on it nearly as much as I used to be,
Right. Are
honestly.
you on Instagram more? What's your favorite?
I really like Instagram. I do.
Yeah. Are you on Threads?
I only recently started using Threads consistently. I really like Threads.
Yeah.
I pop on there like once or twice a day. I feel like it's going to be like old school Twitter and that it's just going to become a massive time suck.
It could. There is still I mean, people are getting good growth there though. It's really text based. You can do
Hmm.
GIFs and images, but like links out don't 100% do great, but you could do your original post like for your podcast, you could just do text only and then do another one with like here's the link and because
Hmm.
I've had some things go, not necessarily business posts, but posts like more personal things, get a lot of interaction.
I've seen a lot of people in the social media manager space saying that they're getting clients from Threads.
Mhm.
But I worry that it's really competitive because now every social media manager in the world is flocking to Threads to be like, ooh, it's a good lead generator. And I'm like, I don't want to be one of 800 people who are like, oh, you need a social media manager. Drop your link.
I get that. It's hard, but it is a place where people are having a lot of conversations now. And I think you
Yeah.
can reach new people, which is good.
I don't know if this is true, but people have said that the more active they are in Threads, I don't know if there's a correlation with Instagram.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on both and I've used Threads since it started, like literally since it
Yeah.
started. I don't think it's helped my Instagram. I don't think it has. My
Yeah.
Instagram, I mean, I post on my Instagram all the time. I do stories. I should do more stories every day, but it's like I'm in the middle of book launching. So I'm like, I'm doing podcast interviews and stuff. So I don't have as much time, You have to like do what you could do. But yeah, I don't know if it helps. Maybe it does. They're connected. And I like to sometimes just share a thread to my stories, but I don't share every thread to my stories.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Threads evolves because I definitely feel like people are starting to catch on.
Yeah, and it has picked up. I mean, it has definitely picked up. It's much more positive place, but there are now like bot counts that like do weird commenting and eventually it's going to have ads and the algorithm will hit and people won't see your stuff. So now is the good days where you can reach more people.
Right? So, how can people connect with you? Do you have a freebie, anything? What's the best way for our listeners to connect
I
with
do.
you?
On my website, PegFitzpatrick.com, I do have a free resources tab where I have a bunch of different things to choose from. And my website also has tons of social media blog articles because I still like written word. What can I say? I still like that. I like to learn through reading things and I like when there's videos on there. So anyway, PegFitzpatrick.com and I'm on all the socials at Peg Fitzpatrick too. So
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. I always love having conversations with other marketers. Like I think that they're the best. And I certainly learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience did too. So thank you to the listeners for listening. Leave a review. Go follow Peg. I follow your stuff, and I think it's
thank you.
And as always, if there's any feedback, comments, you can always email me. Drop me a line through my website, www.heidijschmidt.com. And until next time, go forth, create amazing content that stops the scroll.